Hello guys, welcome back to Technos, and in this video we will see two best non-overlapping events problem, which is from LeetCode number 2054. This will be based on line speed one-dimensional problem. Now, a very good problem to solve before this would be my calendar 2 and the minimum platforms problem. I will highly recommend you to work both of these before solving this problem. Now let's look at the problem statement. In this problem, you are given a 0 and x2 integer array of events, where events at I equals start time I, end time I, comma value I. The ith event starts at start time I and ends at end time I. And if you attend this event, you will receive a value of value I. You can choose at most two non-overlapping events to attend such that the sum of their values is maximized. We need to return the maximum sum, and we should note that the start time and the end time is inclusive. That is, you cannot attend two events where one of them starts and the other one ends at the same time. More specifically, if you attend an event with end time t, the next event must start at or after t plus 1, right? So this is the entire problem statement. Let's look at the constraint and then we will see the example. In this case, the event's length is 10 to the power of 5. So definitely you can make out that you cannot write an n square algorithm because that will be 10 to the power of 10, and we should be very, very greater than 10 to the power 8. So the requirement here is something like n log n, which will be below 10 to the power 8 number of operations. Now let's look at an example for better understanding. In this case, let's say that we are given three events, 1, 3, where 1 is the start and 3 is the end point, and 4 is the value that you get if you attend this event. Another event 3 to 6 with the value 3, and 1 to 2 with the value 2. So I have drawn them on scale here, and you can see that I have given a solid circle. This solid circle tells that this number has to be included. It is inclusive, right? If I give a solid circle, then this means it has to be included, and if I give a hollow circle, then this means it has to be excluded. So 1 to 3 is included, 3 to 6, here 3 and 3 are colliding, right? So if you happen to choose this first event, you cannot choose the second event, and then you have the third event. Our goal is select the maximum two non-intersecting events. Now you can also go for 0 selection, 1 selection, or 2 selection. If you do not select anything, then you will always get 0 as your maximum. Or you can also go for, let's say, only 1 selection. It is completely fine. But maximum it should be 2 selection, and you cannot exceed 2. Okay. Now the ranges are inclusive, as I had mentioned, and we need to return the maximum sum after the selection. So a simplest way to solve this problem would be to let's try each of them to be included, and let's say that the first, the range will be included 1 to 3 with the value 4. So if you happen to include that, your current value 4 will be added. But then since two items are allowed to be included, I will check with the other items if they are not intersecting and can be included. So if you check with the second one, then 3 to 6 is actually overlapping with 1 to 3 because they both are inclusive, right? So this cannot be included along with 1, 3. And similarly, this 1, 2 cannot be included because this is completely overlapping with 1, 3. So if you happen to choose that 1, 3 will be included, then only one range can be included, and in that case, the value will be equal to 4. Okay. Now let's go to the next item, and if you choose to select, let's say 3, 6, then what happens? If you choose to select 3, 6, then again I will be checking for all the other intervals. Let's say I'm checking for 1, 3. Can this be included? No, because it is overlapping. Now I'll check with 1, 2. Can this be included along with 3, 6? Yes, this can be included, and so this 2 will be getting added to this 5, and so the value will be 5 here, which is better than 4. But then again, I will be trying with this 1, 2. So if you try with 1, 2, I will include this 2. This first range cannot be included, second range can be included, and again you get a value of 5. Out of all these possibilities, which one is maximum? 5 is the maximum, and therefore we will return 5. Okay. So I hope you have understood this entire approach. This is
Nice, Mike.
the
Thank you, Zenit
So let's now
Boygar.
build an idea for optimal solution. Let's say these are our set of given intervals. If I say that a range is present, then I can have two options for the range. Either that range can be included or it can be excluded. Okay, in the final two non-intersecting event. So let's assume that this range 6 to 9 will get included. And if I was moving from left to right, and now I'm trying to include this 6, 9, then I'll get a value 5 for sure. But then since we have another selection left, and I already know about two intervals to the left hand side, so I'll be wondering about, can I actually select any one of them? I will check for each of these events and I will see if they are not intersecting with the event that I'm selecting, then I will always go for the maximum among the choices available. Here the choices available are 1, 3 is
Monkey,
value 2 and 2, 5 is value 1.
Zenith,
So which one will you select as the second best option? Definitely you will select this 2, right? So I will be selecting this 2, and so the value will be 7. If you happen to
Monkey.
include this 6, 9.
We are
Now what I need to do is I need to
placed.
repeat it for all the
We
intervals, not
are
just for 6, 9, but for everybody. Now why I'm not caring about the
in
left
the
hand side,
galaxy.
let's
Oh
say
my
5,
God,
4
what a
was
long
then
name.
when this processing has to be done for this 4, then this 5 will be included as the left hand side item. Okay, let me repeat it for the next item. So
Yay.
process for this 8, 11, then 4 value will get added because we are assuming it is getting included, and on the left side you have 3 events. Out of these 3 events only there are 2 non-overlapping events with this 8, 11 because 6, 9 is overlapping with 8, 11, right? So I will go with the best option among 2 and 1. So 2 is the best option. This is giving me 6 if I include 8, 11. Now I'll check with this 10, 12, right? In this case, this will give me a value 4, and then I will choose the best option among the rest of the 4 events on the left side. In this case, 8, 11 is actually overlapping, so this is out of selection. Now out of the other 3 events, the 5 is giving me the maximum value, and it is also not overlapping. So 5 will get added, and I'll get a value of 9. So that is how, if I process from left to right and try to say that my current event will get included, then
Do you like curry? I don't want to answer that. I'll wear the cap instead. What the fast talking in the background? That's a video playing.
maximum seen on the left hand side to be the second best option and try to maximize this some value, right? So this is the actual idea for solving this problem. Now what I will do is I will be converting the inclusive range to exclusive range, like how I have solved in the minimum platforms problem. If I can just recap that problem, then given a bus or a car or a cab, if it is going through the bus stops one after another, then my question is about what at any point of time, what is the maximum number of passengers that the bus can transfer from the start point to the destination point when there are multiple people getting into the bus and getting out at some point. Okay, so how will that be explained? So in this kind of problem, when you say when you have even observed the bus, what do? When a bus stops at a bus stop, then the people who want to get out actually gets out first, and then only the people who wants to get in tries to get into the bus, right? Because if you try to get in without the people coming out, you might find that the bus is entirely full and no seat is available. So it is always optimal that people who want to get out, they get out, and then the seats are vacated, and then only you can get in, so that the bus carrying capacity will be maximum across the route. If you just make it the opposite way, like you want to get in first, and if you cannot get in, then you will never get in after that, and you will wait for the next bus, then the current bus's carrying capacity will be less. You just think about it. Okay, so if I want to apply this logic, then if I say that my interval was 1 to 3, let's say from bus stop 1 to bus stop 3, I wanted to travel, and if somebody had to actually get into the bus at 3, and he will be traveling till 6. Now, if I want to apply the wants to get out will first get out, and then you will get in. Those who want to get in, right? If you want to apply that logic, then I cannot apply it here, because if you get out at 3, somebody will get into the bus at 3, and so it will not follow the rules of inclusion,
Jake,
as already mentioned.
this I the
In this case,
best.
it will be non-overlapping, but it is overlapping, right? So in order to implement that,
This
all the
I the
jumps are
best.
integer jumps.
This is the
So I
best.
just increase this value by 1. I do +1 here and make it a hollow circle. This means that this guy wants to get out at 4, right? And now I can implement the logic that if a bus stops at a bus stop, then the people who wants to get out will get out first. So just to implement this logic, I have done this. You can follow any other way you want to handle this situation, right? So this is my way of handling this. Now let's look at the line sweep 1D for interval type problems. So a lot of interval type problems can be solved with line sweep 1D. So it is very important to learn this. Hence I'm explaining this again. Let's say that you are given a set of events where the first one is the start time, second value is the end time, and then the third one is the actual value that you get if you attend the event. And let's say these are the given set of 4 events. Okay, here they are given. Now if I convert it based on the exclusion case, like I want to convert the inclusion range to the exclusion range, then this will be how the intervals will look like. The 1 to 3 will become 1 to 4, but then 4 is excluded. The 3 to 6 will become 3 to 7, and 7 is excluded. If you look at these two ranges, then you see there is a complete overlap
Oh, sorry, I meant this is the best. What is the best?
between this 3 and 4, and this is how we will be identifying the overlap. Okay, so this is, I think, an intuitive and an easier technique to identify overlap. So this is just for your visual understanding, right? Now once you have understood this, then I will be taking the example, and this is the given example, and I will be converting each of the
This stream. Oh, okay. Play no internet dinosaur game from Google. Why?
2 events. Okay, because when you get into the bus, that is an event, and when you get out of the bus, then that is a second event. So I will always say that
In vertical, it is difficult to play
whenever a bus stops
anything.
at a bus stop,
In
people who want to get
vertical
out will
live
get out first,
streaming.
and then only some seats will be vacated, and then those who want to get in will get in, right? So using that logic, if I'm seeing an endpoint, the endpoint should be processed first, and if something is starting at, let's say, 4, if something is starting at 4 and ending at 4, the endpoint has to be processed first, and then only the start point should be processed, right? Using the bus logic.
Yeah.
So for that reason, whenever I see an starting event, then I will always assign the event status to be 1. And when I see an ending event, then I will make the status as -1. What is the status? Now all these events, I will be breaking it into 2 events, the start event and the end event, and then I will combine all these set of events on a single timeline. You can say on a single timeline, and then I will be sorting this timeline. Why I will be sorting it? Because a line sweep is actually a single straight line which will be moving on the time from left to right exactly, and once it has moved to the right, it will never come back to the left. Okay, so if I want a guarantee that once I move,
Yeah,
to the right, I will
exactly.
not go to the
That's
first time, all the
Smiley.
time events must be sorted.
Sleepy AI.
Must be sorted. So if I break down this event start point, then it will become 1, and since it is a start event, I will write 1 for it, and the value will be 2. So this is how the event will be broken. If I have to break this event, the second one, the end event at 4, then this will be at 4 it is ending, and the status will be -1.
The stream. The stream. The stream.
And the value is 2. Now the significance of this 1 and -1, I already explained to you that if there is another event starting at 4 and has some value, then if you sort it, then the end event will always be to the left hand side of the start event, right? So the end event has to be processed first. So using this logic, I have broken down this entire set of events on the timeline, each event into 2 parts, and then after doing this, I will be sorting all of these events into the timeline. Okay, so this is ascending order sorted on the timeline. Now I will be moving from left to right using a line sweep. So this line sweep will start with the first event here. Okay. Now if you remember the previous logic what I had explained you in this idea, then whenever I see an event, then I will be
Meanwhile, the talking. Eminem. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's an AI. It's an AI. It's not actual Eminem, okay? He's not singing. It's an AI. AI generated talking.
including this event, thinking that I will include the value, and I will take the maximum value on the left hand side event, which is not overlapping, right? So if I have already tracked the maximum value coming till this point, I have to track that maximum value, right? So let's say I will be tracking it in maximum scene. So I'll be tracking the maximum of this 2, 1, and let's say it is 2 at this point of time. Now if I come to a start event here, then what I can do is for every start event, I will be saying, okay, the current value is 5, so I'll be including 5, and I will be including the maximum on the left hand side, which is 2, and then get the value 7. So this 7 is actually depicting that if I happen to include this event, then the maximum sum that I could produce is 7, having all the events on the left hand side. Okay, this is the meaning. But then this might not be the optimal answer. The optimal answer will be contained in, let's say, the maximum sum, which will be keeping track of all these sums that you generate over all the events and try to maximize it. Now you have seen how you will be calculating the maximum sum, but then when you want to update this maximum scene, whenever you want to jump onto the next interval, when this interval finishes, then I have to always keep track of the maximum scene, and this needs to be updated with the already known maximum scene, comma, whatever is the maximum known at this point, which is 5. So 2, 5, the maximum value will be 5. So when I go to the next interval beyond this point 9, then this 5 will become a candidate to be included, and that is why whenever I see an end point, then I will be updating the maximum scene, and whenever I will be seeing the start point, then I will be updating the maximum sum. So if you think about it carefully, you will understand, right? Because maximum scene cannot be updated when you see the beginning, because only when you get past this endpoint, this 5 becomes a candidate to be included for the next intervals. Otherwise, it will be overlap, right? You cannot say that this 5 will be a candidate for this 8, because 6 to 9 is overlap. Only when once you process this 9 and go beyond that point, then only this 5 will become a candidate, right? So I hope you have got the point. And with these two knowledge, I will be doing the diagram using the line sweep. So line sweep is nothing but moving from left to right in an increasing timeline order, and I will be maximizing the value and also keeping track of the maximum scene till the current timeline. So 1, 1, 2. You can see the status is 1, right? If the status is 1, then this is the beginning point, and where it is beginning at 1. What is the value? It is 2. So since this is the beginning point, what I try to do is I try to include this value.
Kaboom! Yeah, kaboom! Da da da. Kaboom!
If you include it, what will be the sum? It will be 2 plus whatever is the maximum scene to the left hand side. What is the maximum scene? It is 0, because there is nothing to the left. So what will be the value 2? Once you are done, then you will be maximizing the max value. Max value will be max value already known, comma 2, so this will be updated to 2. Okay? Now I will be going to the next value. Again, this status is showing that this is the start point, and the value is 4, and it is starting at 3. Again, since this is the start point, this interval will be included. If you include this, then the value will be 4, plus the maximum scene to the left hand side. There is nothing to the left hand side, okay? Because there has been no end point here. So there is no non-overlapping interval on the left hand side. So that is why it will be 0 and this will be 4. Now since this is 4, it is greater than 2, so I'll be updating the maximum value. Again, I'll be moving to the next value, it is 4 minus 1, 2. This minus 1 is indicating that this is the endpoint. Endpoint
What's your favorite rapper? Raja Kumari.
ending at 4 and the value is 2. So when you are ending here, I will there
Hanuman.
start point to the left hand side, so maximum value was already done for this interval. But then I can now say
Big
that
dots.
from the next point onwards, this interval will become a candidate to be included as the left hand side of the maximum C. Okay, so this maximum C has to be updated whenever an interval ends. Because when an interval ends, then to the right hand side of this, you can have this 4 as a candidate to be included, and this will be included for let's say this point 10, right? So maximum C will be maximum of this already known maximum C, comma, whatever is the value 2, so this will become 2. Now let's go to the next point, this is 5, 1, 3. Now for this value, you see this is a start point at index 5 and the value is 3. So it is a start point, right? So what do I need to do? I will be including this value, so I'll get 3 as a profit. And on the left hand side, is there any non-overlapping interval? Yes. And the maximum value is 2. So I'll be adding this and you get a 5. So 5 is greater than 4, I'll be updating this. And I'll move to the next value. Now this is an endpoint, minus 1 at 7 and the value is 4. So only maximum C will be updated. It will be max of already known maximum C, comma 4, so this will become 4. Again go to the next point. This is 9 minus 1, 3. Again this is an endpoint at point 9. So again maximum C will be updated to max of 4, comma 3. So 4 is maximum, so don't update it. Go to the next point, 10, 1, 3. So when you go here, this is the start point. So if you try to include this, the profit will be 3. So 3 plus whatever is the maximum seen on the left hand side, 4. So this becomes 7. So 7 is larger, so update max value to 7. Again, when you go to the right hand side, this is an endpoint. And because this is minus 1, right? So if this is an endpoint, maximum C will be updated to max of 4, 3. So this will remain to be 4, right? So once you are done processing all the events on this timeline, then whatever is stored in the maximum value will be the maximum value if you are allowed to select maximum of 2 events. You can select 0, 1 or 2 events, okay? Now since all the values are positive, if there is an event, then you must include at least 1 event, right? Now the time complexity here is n log n, which is for the sorting of the events, right? And the space complexity is order of n, just to store all these events in an array. So I hope you have understood this approach. Let's now look at the code. If you are someone who is looking to prepare for top product-based company within a limited time of just 3 months, then we have brought for you both the DSA and the System Design Live Interview Training Program. The most important feature of this program is you get a filtered and condensed structured curriculum, in-depth discussion of all the topics, and my guarantee of your understanding, one-on-one guidance with me, and live weekend classes. To know more about the training, you can WhatsApp us on this given number. In this code, we are given the events, and I will be taking a line sweep array simply, and I will be going through all the events one by one. So I'll be extracting the start, end, and the value, and I will be breaking down this entire line into 2 parts. So if you see, there is a start and an end point. So if I break it down, then the start will be present with the status as 1 and the value. Okay, so this will be 1 point into line sweep. Another point will be end will be present, but I will do e plus 1 just for the logic that if there is a range from it as a range from 1 to 4, but not including this 4, right? This is what I have been doing. And then the status will be minus 1 and the value. So this is the breaking step, pushing all these events into the line sweep. After that, I will be sorting it based on the ascending order of these points. Okay, so this will place everything arranged on the timeline, and now I will be applying the line sweep here. So if you see, I have taken maximum value and the maximum seen on the left hand side. Now I will be going event by event into the line sweep array, and simply I will be picking up the point status and the value. I will be checking the status. If it is the begin of an interval, then I will be updating the max value. If it is the end, then I will be updating the maximum C.
I like Eminem. I like him as well. Rap God, rap God.
The maximum value as my final result. So I hope you have understood the line sweep solution. If you still have any doubt, then feel free to comment below, and I'll try to help you as soon as possible. Like and share our video and subscribe to our I hope you guys are doing good. In this video is about 2 best non-overlapping events. Now, if the word overlapping comes in, I'm expecting that you must have watched any of the overlapping videos which we have covered for. Again, just you can problem names. You can just write problem names by article we video, right? These are the problems we have covered for the overlapping problems. Now, again, so you are given a 2D digit array events where each event is a start time, end time, and corresponding value. This start time represents an interval.
Not Eminem.
So as you can see, here,
Eminem.
1, 3 values 2. So
Eminem.
value 1
Eminem.
So you have to make sure that
Eminem.
is given exclusive, insufficient,
Eminem.
inclusive. Now, the id event starts at the start time and ends at the end time. And if you want this event, you will receive the value of value. So if you take or consume this event, you get the value of 2. If you consume this event, you get the value of 2. If you consume this event, you get the value of 3. Value of 2. So this event start and this is the corresponding value. Ultimately, you are given that you can choose at most 2 non-overlapping intervals. So, okay, the fact here comes is that you have to choose non-overlapping intervals and that too at most 2. Now, you have to return the maximum sum. What maximum sum is? Maximum sum, obviously, let's say in this case, I can choose this one and this one. Answer is 4. In this case, I have to choose 2. If I choose these 2, oh, the value is 4, but I can choose only this one because I want at most 2. So I get the value of 5. Here I will choose these 2, I get the value of 8. So you have to choose at most 2 and get the value. Now, again, they have mentioned what the corresponding starting is. So the first very basic thing, you have to choose at most 2 non-overlapping intervals. Non-overlapping intervals. Now, if I divide this problem, I have the opportunity to choose. There is a limit on the amount of choose I can do, and also the category of chooses. It should not be overlapping. Which means that choose. Oh, I have 2 options. Choose, not choose. For every interval, I will have 2 options. Either choose or not choose. If I choose it, if I don't choose it, I can choose anything at most 2 times. And obviously, you can easily see that whenever I have 2 options, it's nothing but a simple answer. 0 answer. So at every index I go on to, every index will represent every interval.
Are you from Gulag? What is Gulag? Gulag or Gulag? I didn't get you.
At every interval, you will simply see that I will have 2 options. Either I will choose this index or ignore this index. If I choose this index, then the next limit is that I can choose at most 2. So I have to make sure I'm maintaining that how many I have chosen. I have chosen so far. And at max, this can be a limit of 2. But okay, that is good. So we realize that so far the complexity is n into 2. But then the condition means that these intervals should not be overlapping. Even if I am about to choose this index I, then I have to make sure that the next index which I will choose should not be overlapping. Then the main condition becomes that how we make sure this time. So ultimately, we realize that I will simply iterate on my entire array. Again, right now you might see that okay, Aryan, it seems like that you are iterating and you have sorted these. No, not necessarily. Imagine I have not sorted it. So I will go on to every index. Let's say if I land onto this specific index, again, as you iterate from left to right, this is how you iterate on any index. You land on this index. You have two options, either to choose or not choose. Not choose. If you do a choose, then what will happen? If you let's say choose this for
It's Gulug, but it's spelled as Gulag. Gulug, but it's spelled as Gulag. What is that? I don't know.
I am maintaining the index and also how many I have chosen. Again, take any variable k or anything whatsoever, I have chosen k. So you will see that if my k reaches 2, which means I have already chosen 2, I cannot choose any more further. So simply you can skip from there itself or return from there itself. But if my k is less than 2, which means I can still have the ability to choose. Let's say if I choose this, whenever, if you remember, whenever you do a solve function, let's say if you have a choose variable, then whenever you do a solve, obviously if you choose this specific thing, so you will add what? You will add and say events of I and index 2, because if you remember, event array is index 0, start index 1, and index 2 is the value. So if I choose this, I will choose this specific value, but then I will have to go and
If you say it fast, it will sound like it. No, I don't want to say it fast. I don't want to get myself into trouble.
ask my person to go and start solving from next index, next k value reduced by 1. What is the next index I should ask him to start from? Can I ask you to start from the I plus 1? Because here in this case, I plus 1, let's say this. Or maybe, again, you might ask I plus 1 because this. But again, what if this one more interval will have been there, which is overlapping with the previous interval, which is this I plus 1. And then I plus 1 will obviously will be this. So you realize, oh, I should make sure that if I've chosen this, I want my intervals to be non-overlapping. This was the primary condition to remember, non-overlapping. So I will have to tell my recursion, go and start and search from an index whose start is higher than my end. So I will have to go and search in this later half, obviously after this index. I will search off and find the first interval whose start is more than my end. More than, because these intervals are inclusive. So more than my end. Look for that specific start, and that is corresponding J for it, right? So now the question is how I will do it. If I go linearly, which means if I go, okay, for this index, I will iterate linearly on the right side and find it, it will come n for one index. I will make it bring a complexity of O of n square, which will obviously not considering the constraints. Then how to solve it? Simply, whenever you cannot do a linear search, think of a binary search. So I'll think of a binary search here. To do a binary search on what? On start. I have to sort these intervals by start. That is the reason I will sort intervals by start. Forget my writing, my hands are shaking right now because it's super winter and I'm very cold. So you now realize that this is how we can solve it. This index J is nothing but on doing a binary search, or I should rather say a upper bound on my end. So I will do upper bound on my events array, and upper bound on what value? On the value such that the start is more than my end. End of what? End of the current interval, or current interval, which is event of I comma, but it should be more than it. And that start I will get and put it here. And this you can use for criteria. Again, this is when I choose it. What if I don't choose it? If I don't choose it, then it's pretty simple. Simply go and solve the next index. Because if I don't choose it, so it will not be impacted, and my table will not be impacted. So this is your simple stuff which you can do by a simple logic you have. Let's say the code is exactly very simple. I will simply start off again if I go on to my main function. What is my main function? Yeah. I will firstly initialize my DP because I know I will need n, and also I will need my p. Then I will sort my events array on the basis of sorted by this corresponding start value. Then I will solve giving the corresponding start index and the corresponding key. How many I have chosen so far. Then I will go on to my solve function.
The song Houdini by Eminem's Fire. I can't play that song, but yeah, it would be fire. Everything is fire. You can search for Pushpa the Fire. You'll get to know the fire dialogues.
Already chosen 2, or my index has reached the end, I should simply return a 0. If not, I will check if the thing is already non-minus 1, which means it is already memorized. If not, then find the next index first, because the moment you will choose it or include it, you will add the current value, and then you will have to go and start with the next index. Again, increasing the k, or you can also say again, here I just reduce the k, if you remember. Considering I initialize my k with 2, but here I can also, if I initialize my k with 0, I will increase the k, because I want to get to the limit of 2. Coming back, if I exclude it, I will simply go and solve for the next index. That's it. And ultimately, I want the maximum of include or exclude, so simply memorize it and return the maximum. If I show you the upper bound, again, you might ask, why not use the inbuilt upper bound function of C++? You can use it. It's okay for you. But for Java, there is no upper bound. That's the reason I've written this corresponding code. And again, for the folks, you want the code is actually defined on the in the description. I will simply go and find the search space. My search space is index plus 1 up till the actual array length. My next index by default is what if I don't find it, which is the end of the array. And again, you might ask, why not the default value is -1? Because see, ultimately, I will put in this next index here, and then I put in the next index here. If it is actually the length of the array, which means ultimately when it will go here, it will come here and simply return a 0. So that is the reason I actually put up the default value as events.side and not a -1. Ultimately, my simple binary search template, if you don't know, just write binary search by RA simple, you'll get a video of template, and just go and walk through that template, and you get okay, L, then mid, then I check if the current start value, if it is more than my end, it's a good thing. So put the next index as this, and make sure to try for a lesser index. If not, then try for a higher index. Ultimately, return the next index value. This is your binary search code. Ultimately, get your answer. As you can simply see, my DP will take O of n into 2 times, but each DP addition also taking a log n time to do a binary search on the array. Thus, my time will be O of n into 2 log n, space will be O of n into 2. Now, the question is, at all, in the very beginning itself, I mentioned to you that technically overlapping intervals or overlapping problems. So technically, you must have leveraged some kind of a line sweep, which we have seen already in many problems. So why haven't we used it? Oh, let's try to use it. If I would have used a simple, method of not using, let's say, okay, although I just went on, I think the most beautiful approach. But even if you want, okay, let's say I would have chosen this interval. My task will be to obviously
I'm super duper sleepy.
I am choosing some specific
But
interval.
what I have to do,
Actually go ahead.
I can't stop myself from doing it. I have to do that.
Now, forget about B.
I need to finish this problem.
So if you're at this index, you are looking for any of the previous index whose end value is less than a 10, and also making sure that I'm having the corresponding
Let
maximum
me
value.
sit first.
Okay, so it is saying that in the prefix, I have to do a binary search whose end is less than my start, and also on top of it, getting the max value. So if I focus on the first portion, that the end is less than my start. So obviously, I will again have to do a sorting. Now I have to do a sorting on the basis of n because I'm searching for the n. So you realize that now I will sort. This is doing that push. So I will sort this on the basis of my n because I have to binary search on my n, and it should be less than equal to my start. My is my interval. This is my interval. But on top of it, the prime fact is even if I got the search, I want that what is the maximum value. Obviously, let's say if I got okay, this is the corresponding index. I got this index, but now the fact is I have to get it in of one time. What is the maximum value of any intervals before it? How do you figure out maximum value of any interval before it? By simply doing a prefix maximum. So I'll maintain a prefix maximum after every interval. So here we see prefix maximum for this is 3. Prefix maximum for this is 3. Again, prefix maximum for this the interval value is 2, but the prefix maximum is 3. Prefix maximum is 4. Prefix maximum is 4. Prefix maximum is 6. So this is how I can maintain a prefix maximum. So I can use a binary search. Yeah, right? I can do a binary search by sorting on the basis of n index, get to the index, get and do a pre-computation by doing a prefix maximum to actually get the maximum value. I can club it with the current index. And that's how also I can solve it. Okay, awesome. This is approach number 2, which I mentioned that similar to the approach 1, you can also use prefix maximum plus binary search. Now, again, you might ask, Aditya, you haven't used the actual overlapping concept which you used to, and maybe later will ask you much more further. For example, he doesn't, because obviously in 2 questions which are done so far, you did sorting also and binary search also. So technically, you are leveraging twice again. The complexity of the total is 4 n but still you are leveraging this index. Can you optimize this? Which means really, if I'll have to obviously you, but you will see at every step I gave this question of 5. But still, can we leverage of not using a binary search at all? Maybe yes, and leverage at overlapping concept problem, which means that for this specific 4, again, which is my interval, I was technically looking for any interval which actually ended before me, which means before my start, that interval ended. So somehow maintain the end, maintain that what all interval ended before me, and with that, if an interval has ended, then take maximum value. Now, why it is feasible and why it is possible? Because ultimately, if I'm choosing the current interval, I'm only looking for one more interval in the previous section who was ended before me, and out of all the intervals, I'm only looking for the maximum value because I'm looking for only one value, and that is the maximum value. So I'm only concerned about 2 things, which is maximum value, but maximum value for only those intervals who have ended before me, When I say me, I mean my interval. So now the fact becomes that how do you firstly maintain that what all intervals have ended before you, and for only have ended, make sure I'm stressing that word, who have ended, you only update your max value for those intervals. So technically, I will have to make sure that whenever an interval ends, then I can update it. But interval ends here also and here also, so how to know that when to update? So as I have think of these intervals as distinct points, which means if I can think of okay, this is 1 point, this is 1 point, this is 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, and so on. So I will go to the first point. Obviously, I will have to mark if it is a start point or an end point, but technically, let's say I know, and I will mark my question. Again, I can have a flag which is true or false. I can have a boolean, or I can have a value of 1 and 0. There are multiple ways. In many calls, I have used 1 and 0 because this helps us to sort it. But nonetheless, we have multiple ways to solve it. So you realize that at this specific start, okay, I will consume this because I'm going on to all the points. Let's see, I am maintaining my max value. Again, this is max value which I can use, I can leverage for any interval. So far for this start, there's no max value. So again, max sum is the answer. I will simply say, okay, the current value is 3. The current value is 3. There is no max value, so basically move on. Now, as I move on, I will go on to the other start value. Okay, this is also a start. This says the value is 2. I maximize my, it will not maximize. But my max value is still a 0 because I have never completed any interval so far. Now I go on to next interval. Oh, this is the end value.
Mike Jones, beautiful lady. Who is beautiful lady?
You have already updated the maximum, then you get on to corresponding start. Update the max value because if this interval has ended, next time any other interval will be starting off. For him, this interval will be ended. Again, that's it. Any time this interval will be starting off. So I will get to end. So simply update the max value. So max value is 3. Again, I got an end. If I got an end, again, I cannot update my maximum. I will only update my max value. Max value is okay. Max is 3. I am updating by 2. Okay, this will maximize and will be a 3. Then I go on to the next start. Oh, his value is 4. But I also have a max value of 3, which ultimately indicates that something has ended previously and whose max value is 3. Right? That is, that how I'm leveraging both the concept. I'm starting from start. When I'm starting only, then I'm taking my value, and then only I'm comparing the max value, which I only update whenever I end. Thus making sure that I am only iterating, or I'm only grabbing this value of intervals who have already ended before I even started. So I will have the value of 4, my max value is 3, the value of max value is 7. Okay, 7. Okay, this is 7. Now, in that case, again, I will reach to an end. In that case, I should make sure I update my end value. Okay, I update, maximize 4. Another start, 16. Okay, value is 3, max value is 4. Oh, I get a value of 7. Oh, it's already my value of 7. Then go on. Another start. You will see, I never updated with this 3 here. No, another start. Again, value 6, max value is 4. Oh, value is 10. Updated. Another end. Oh, if it is an end, try to maximize your max value, which is 6 in this case. Oh, then I will go on to 24, maximize my rate. Oh, it is already maximum 6. Maximum answer is 10. But the fact here is that I'm leveraging and only updating my max value when I'm ending on an interval. Only updating my maximum when I'm starting off on an interval. Let's say 4. And because of the fact that you have to go on and start things from your start value, you have to start with reserve starting. So I take a max sum and the max finished value. You will see I will simply get all these points as I mentioned. So point is a start point, its corresponding value. Again, you can put a flag also. And if you don't know, I always make sure that whenever it's totally you, but whenever you're handling these interval problems, make sure to point it as inclusive, and exclusive, which means this will become value of 1, 6. Again, this is leveraged in roughly all the problems which we have seen so far. It is a good practice to convert it to an inclusive, exclusive, rather than inclusive. So that's it. I converted it. Again, there are multiple benefits, not in this problem, but again, that's a standard which you can take ahead. Then ultimately sort it on the basis of start time. Go on to all of these things, get the time, get the start, get the value. If it's a start, make sure to get the maximum sum. If it's an end, make sure to get the maximum value. Ultimately, get the maximum value. Same thing, time because sorting will take more end or time, but your point of finding such here, that is the leverage, and that is the most optimized approach. Space, obviously, as you know, that you are maintaining this timeline thing, which will have O of n by 52 points, thus the space will go of n. Cool, I hope you got it. If you please do smash the video. Again, please don't have to this all in a short span of time, which I will do if you have not known. So yeah, take it.
What are you doing? I'm doing AI. AI. What do you mean you are doing AI? So I'm using AI. And I'm trying to make use of AI to do some things, some software things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So do you use AI on daily basis? What are your thoughts on AI?
దరిద్రం ఉంది అని అంత ఏముందిరా
I love my job.
You hate your job.
Anxiety,
Very satisfied where I am.
and skills.
I am inevitable.
I feel this is a vicious circle most engineers of our country are stuck in. There's this constant anxiety amongst young engineers about what their future might be a few years from now. Anywhere you go, you hear the same. This isn't a good time to get into the job market. The job market is saturated. Development overall is saturated. Development might die. AI can do in a few minutes what you used to do in a few hours. The goal of this video is to understand what needs to change at a fundamental level for India to produce solid products at a global stage and solid engineers who can be great employees. Let's uncover the truth layer by layer. Let's understand where this all started from. Let's start from the top. CS wasn't the most lucrative field back in the day, but the core fascination was towards building a company that could scale so quickly, building something that connected the world and brought them together so quick. The core motivation was solving a problem. It wasn't getting a stable paycheck every month. Well, that was true until we joined college. I have a cousin back in Canada, and you'll notice a stark difference in his attitude and mine towards life. Indians live with a very risk-averse mindset. This country is overly satisfied with 1 lakh per month jobs, and it's been ingrained into most of middle class that if you reached a certain level, it's time to stay in that company forever, pay your debts, get married, have kids, and then your kids continue down the same route. Rarely are people from the middle class strata seen to take risks, but usually the smartest lot lives here. The smartest lot has had a fairly average childhood. They've always wanted to break out of mediocrity. They've always had problems at home, financially or otherwise, and their core goal has been to break out of that mediocrity. The problem is they run back towards mediocrity with a certain CTC in mind. The problem with the country is not that we don't have ambition, is that we have limited ambition. Most of the country, in fact, I would dare to say most of the IITs, are overly satisfied with a certain paycheck as long as it comes with a lot of security. The same is not true for my cousins living in Canada. They've been pushed out to the world at as early as 16, and since then they've been taking care of themselves. This is in stark difference from what happens in India. Your family is supposed to take care of you until you're 22, and you're supposed to take care of them after you're 22. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem is Indians are overly emotionally abused, especially when it comes to career choices. It's hard for the generation above us to understand the kind of jobs that exist today. They've been raised in a different world. Opportunities today are significantly different than what they used to be, and it's hard for them to digest outcomes like 1 lakh a month or 2 lakh a month, considering they've broken their back for 40 years working at a government job, and by the end of it reached a similar number. Once the kid starts at this point, number one, it's hard for them to believe, and number two, they really want their kid to stick with it. It's really hard for the kid to ever run out of that salary cycle, and this leads to the first reason of mediocrity: extremely risk-averse mindset. They say the rich keep on getting richer, and I think that's true. One of the biggest reasons being the rich have more appetite for risk. The poor don't. The good thing in tech is that even if you're middle class, if you're smart, there are people out there who will fund your ideas. You get to work on building something, taking risks while drawing a salary. That's never been true for any other career. With such freedom to build products and experiment, the country still is the biggest job center for everyone all around the world. People still want that job and are happy staying in that job until they're 50 and retiring. There's nothing wrong with it. It's how things have been going on forever. I think the thing that is wrong is to expect us to compete with countries like the US, when we don't have the risk appetite, or more technically smart people don't have the risk appetite to build businesses. And it's not just building businesses. I think even as an employee, you can provide a lot of value. What people lack is the courage to go against your parents' will and take a 50% pay cut because your friend is starting off. The final outcome, the money that you retire with, is going to be a lot. Even if it's half of the amount, your outcome won't change. You will still have the same lifestyle. What may end up happening though is that if a lot of the country starts to adopt a business mindset compared to an employee mindset, the country as a whole might have a chance to compete with global economies like the US. This takes me to my next point: abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. Let's start with the tweet. In this tweet, you'll see someone complaining that Zomato is charging slightly higher as compared to a traditional restaurant, and hence you should just visit the restaurant, order directly from the restaurant, or just eat out. Do you find a problem in here or not? If I do a poll, I think a lot of people would agree that what Zomato is wrong. But how else do you think a company as big would ever make money or ever be profitable if they're not keeping a cut for themselves? But the key of the cut is too high. Well, they get to decide that. If they've created a monopoly, if everyone's ordering from them, they can jack their prices to whatever they want. If it's too much, someone else will come, out-compete them, and beat them down in the market. It's an open market. 90% of India is filled with speculators, naysayers, people who are not super happy looking at other people succeed. Even if a company like Zomato provides employment to thousands of people, takes a lot of money from the rich, provides jobs to thousands of gig workers, if they themselves pull out a profit, they're seen in a bad light. Every other day, you'll find a tweet trying to pull down the legitimacy of these platforms. Why? Because Zomato is one of the first tech success stories from the country. It's one of the first startups from India, started back in 2008, and have successfully built a profitable business that's public and doing extremely well. More companies will follow. I'm not saying every startup is on this path, but a lot of them are. And to see such value being created by strong entrepreneurs who had the option of getting a job in Microsoft back in 2008, but they took a risk, stayed back in the country, built a business over a span of 15 years. To see them become a success, most of the country isn't happy. There's a saying in 3 years. दोस्त अगर फेल कर जाए तो बुरा लगता है, पर दोस्त अगर फर्स्ट आ जाए तो ज़्यादा बुरा लगता है. Every success story, every time one's seen making some profits, they're essentially seen in a bad light. People aren't happy seeing other people succeed. That's one of the biggest reasons the country is stuck in mediocrity. हमारे साथ कोई बहुत बड़ा ना हो जाए, हम सब mediocre कुछ. You need to understand this is a growing pie. Economies grow over time. If someone is growing, the least you can do is not pull them down. The best you can do is either join them, compete with them, or just support them from the sidelines. This is what is known as abundance mindset. Abundance mindset is the belief that there are enough resources, time, and opportunities for everyone to be successful, and the success does not come from the expense of others. India doesn't have an abundance mindset yet. It has what's called a scarcity mindset. The reason is obvious. We've always been a risk-averse country. We've never promoted taking risks. We've always looked down upon failure. But the best entrepreneurs, the best businesses, the best people are built out of a lot of failures. Remember, we're a strong country. We're as strong as iron, and no one can destroy iron, but its own rust can. I think we're rusted, but we're not rusted beyond repair. Let's talk about how do we fix this. One of the biggest reasons of scarcity mindset, one of the biggest reasons we don't like to see other people succeed, is because deep inside we know we won't. We know we waste a lot of our time on social media. We know we're not putting in the efforts in the right direction. We just hope other people aren't as well. And frankly, today the bar is that low. Majority of the people are stuck in an extremely comforted lifestyle, a lifestyle where everything is available at the touch of your fingertips, a lifestyle that we were not meant to live, but unfortunately most of the country is. TikTok, India was one of the biggest consumers of TikTok back in the day. Remember, no such product has come out of India yet, and it did not come out of the US. It came out of China, and India was one of the biggest consumers. People hate China for 1,000 reasons. They're very restrictive. They don't allow YouTube access from the country. They have their own apps for everything. They don't allow foreign trade to kick in. These are rules. No one likes rules. Have they worked well for them? I would say yes. Have you ever been to China? It feels like they're living 20 years ahead of everyone else, even ahead of the US. Sure, there should be freedom of speech. No human should be forced to do anything against their own will. I think we strictly need rules. Very early in our lives, we're being exposed to social media, to a world of people, to things we probably shouldn't be exposed to. And rules aren't the worst thing in the world. 3 to 6 months of social media detox, 3 to 6 months of working hard rather than living on the internet might lead to outcomes no one might have ever seen. The bar is so low. All you have to do is for 3 months just keep your phone on the side, and most probably you will be at a 10x better position than where you were. Unfortunately, it's really hard. It's probably really hard for you to sit through this video without forwarding it. Our mind has been trained in a way. It's very hard for us to focus on what's right because there's too much entertainment on the other side. Will this entertainment give you short-term pleasure? Yes. Will it make you a miserable human being living on the internet about other people's success in the long term? Yes. So what's step one for the country to adopt abundance mindset? For the country to have some rules. I think, as controversial as the statement might sound, banning TikTok was a good idea. And I think there were a few more apps that might not be the worst idea in the world to ban. Sometimes things need to be forced. There's a reason that the average screen time you might have on Instagram is probably 6 hours. But you're not able to sit through that 3-hour learning course that's providing thousands of years of knowledge in a span of 3 hours. You'd rather. For that, we need an abundance mindset. The first step there is just making sure we can focus on things that we know are right and not avoid the right things and find any excuse out there to work hard. With that, I'll move to the next point. Step one, thankfully, is the easiest step. It's just staying still for a day. Try to keep well. Try to have a deep sleep of 8 hours. Try to stay away from your phone almost throughout the day. Try to spend time with your family. Try to avoid that urge to eat junk food. Just try and stay still. That's step one. Step one is super easy. India is filled with mediocrity right now, but it won't remain there for long. When people start to come out of mediocrity, competition will increase at a higher level as well. Trust me, it's super persuasive. Turn the camera on and look at the people hard at 5. There's a woman sitting 5 years. Challenging as this. Keeping people motivated enough to make sure they're just putting in the input without worrying about the output. Making sure that there are infinite sum games running all around me. I will be persuasive on the channel and in with a lot of people. And when that happens, the above average lot will become extremely loud. Right now, though, the bar is extremely low. If you can take your dopamine routine for a week, the next steps will become fairly obvious to you very quickly. You'll declutter your feed. You'll make sure you're following the right people. You make sure you're understanding where the value is coming from. It was very obvious where the value was in the last 10 years. It was in tech, it was in products, it was in startups. A lot of startups that are being used by 99% of India now is scrolling on their phone. There's still a lot of need for competition in these markets. More competition leads to a healthy economy. So try to be on the other side of the phone, build products other than using them. I feel that I'm already an engineer. I'm assuming most people on this channel are already engineers somewhere involved in coding or computer science. Computer science is probably the only degree where you can make half a mil to a mil as an employee. This is sort of unheard of unless you're involved in very core sales. Rarely do you make this amount of money as an employee. Even there, in sales, you have to show outcomes. In tech, a lot of times you're rewarded just for being smart. If you've written a research paper, if you've published a library, there's a high probability of big tech will hire you just for the sake of it. And you can stay there, mentor, coach for 3 years for packages that even small to medium-sized businesses sometimes don't make. It's a very healthy business with, believe it or not, when I say this, extremely low competition. No one's close to being at the top. As I said, people love mediocrity. Most are looking for what they can do the next month to get a 30% bump. But no one's looking at a 10-year horizon. How can you be a better engineer so that by the end of 10 years, you're an extraordinary resource to a very big company, or you are a very big company. After 1 lakh a month, if you're still stuck in the job rack, then most probably it's not your parents forcing you, it's yourself. I agree that risk averseness gets pushed onto us by our parents. We don't take a lot of risk in life because we want to make our parents proud, get them a house, so on and so forth. But beyond a point, if you're making 2 to 3 lakh rupees a month as an engineer, if you're still not ready to take risks, most probably the problem lies in you. You've absorbed the risk averseness inside you so much. It's very hard for you to take out of it now. And it only gets worse over time. People keep saying IITs would be job givers and job takers. But if you look at the distribution of IITians, you'll find 90 to 95% of them still working at jobs, maybe 5% doing startups. They're probably, at least on paper, the most qualified people to start startups, even though this statement is slightly controversial. They're supposed to, at least on paper, perform really well in anything that they do, including business. But they're always stuck in this conundrum, and I see this very closely amongst my friends. It's hard for me to use the salary sector. And also, there's a 30% increment waiting in the next company or at the end of the year. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great lifestyle. But I think one should accept at that point that you're yourself the one who's risk averse. For everyone else, people who are supposed to be job takers, you'll find one very common quality amongst most IITians. They despise if someone from a different college joins the same company at the same package. And they love it when there's a very big disparity based on college in the compensation packages. Their identity is tied to being an IITian. They always want to be the elite class. And this entitlement stays with them for a long time. It's like defense employees. My dad, even after he retired, expects people to salute because he was once a good captain. Even though there's nothing wrong with it, I think it's a false sense of entitlement, and people around you, without you even knowing, might surpass you when it comes to skills, salaries, and every other aspect of being a wholesome human being, while you're stuck in that entitlement of you clearing a paper 10 years ago. If you are one of my friends who's been an IITian, here's a wake-up call for you. I know you've been wanting to start up, and I know you've made enough money to maybe not retire, but be safe for the next few years. So if you have the opportunity at hand, if you have the skills and if you have the willpower, it will only get harder from here. This might be the right time to start up. To everyone else, that's 99.9% of the audience. It's very easy for you to reach the same level as any of your IITian counterparts, and from there, the trauma should go away. Trust me, it does go away in 5 to 10 years. The entitlement might not go away for an IITian, but the trauma goes away for a non-IITian. Let that trauma go early and try to think of what your next steps are. Try to assume you're already an IITian. Try to assume you're already at that level and plan your future based on that. Don't let a degree or a college be an excuse for mediocrity. It might make sense as an excuse very early in your career for the first year or two. After that, if you're still holding on to that trauma, it's as bad as that IITian holding on to that entitlement for over a span of 10 years. Step 1 is just gaining clarity. No one is too far ahead of you, and it will take you less than 1 year to surpass anyone's level in tech. Because almost everyone, the smartest people you know, are all stuck in a social media frenzy. The people who come out of it are probably going to be the ones that win, and you won't even see that. They sprint past you so quick because everyone else is still stuck on their phone. Step 2. And this one's the most actionable, is avoid doing extremely simple things. I've been trying to lose weight for a while, and my toxic rate is if I put in enough hours in the day, that'll lead to an outcome. So I walk a lot. You'll see me doing the most basic exercises, the most basic stretches, and very basic walks throughout the day, in hope of losing weight over a long span of time. While that might work, it's not the best approach for me to take out of obesity. And similarly for you, I know it's much easier to copy lead code questions and do them. I doubt any of this is going to be relevant at all in the next few years. People are looking for solid value when they're hiring someone. They really need someone who takes away the pain points of the founder, the founding team, the engineering manager. You're just saving their time and charging slightly less than what their time is worth. That's what employment is in tech. If that's not the case right now, it will eventually converge there. Right now it's highly anomaly, a lot of engineers are chilling, but productivity tools, general dev cracking is coming. And when it does, only people who are providing real value are probably going to do well in this career. This is one of the reasons that most people top out at L3, L4, L5 at Google, and very few move beyond that because very few are ready to do complex things. So if you want to succeed in tech, if you've already decided this is what you want to do, irrespective of where you're at, you might not have a job right now, you might be in college, you might be in school, pick challenging tasks. Every company that you look at today, every successful company is either a deep tech product that's very hard to build, or a company that's figured out on-ground business really well. Zomato lies in the second category, and a company like OpenAI or Anthropic lie in the first category. All of these products at its core have been built by humans, and until 99% of these products can be cloned by anyone as dumb as a monkey. It's all first principles thinking. And I'm not saying you build OpenAI on day zero, but you can build a smaller version of an LLM. You'll learn much more building that than trying to build a Google application. I know it feels hard, but it only feels hard because most people don't have 8 hours to give at a stretch. Here is an amazing video that will take you through how to build an LLM from scratch. Amongst the millions of people who've seen this video, I doubt more than 5% have actually built it or gained any value from it, pursued it later on to build something better. But the only way to increase your learning curve is by solving more and more challenging problems. That's what PhDs do. And they're usually considered extremely smart and known to retire very rich. So if you are thinking of getting into tech, don't. But if you do, make sure you like to keep your head down, spend a lot of hours coding, understanding computer science, how computers work. That's really all that most mediocre developers lack. If you're just keeping your head down and solving complex problems, stepping out of your comfort zone almost every other day, before you know it, you have a following of 500,000 people thinking you know something, but I don't know anything. I just like solving complex problems. And if you keep doing that over a long span of time, there are only X number of things that you need to know to become a good computer scientist, to be able to communicate with other people, to make sure you're not feeling alienated in a conversation among smart people. Make sure you're ready for it. And if you are, it's a very nice, cozy, small community of developers that eventually end up doing this for a living. The good ones. Aim to be there. Keep a longer term horizon in mind and make sure you're staying away from